Evening, everybody. Got 12 people in the room. One thumbs up, which is fantastic. As you can see, we're more organised this evening, so we've managed to get ourselves sorted. We're joined live this evening with Ross Thomas from Thomas Classic the Modern. So thanks very much for making time available this evening. Much appreciated. People were asking for you, so you know it's not just me wanting to bring people on. People were asking, so we're just responding to demand.
Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, happy to be here, mate. Yeah, good.
Oh, excellent. So normally I'll just start off with a little bit of a roundup. So what's happened? So if I just start off first with what's happened since last time, I think on the 30th of December was the last live stream. So I've had 4 videos since then, which is basically the 12 points wrong with your carburation, 12 points wrong with your ignition. And then what did we have? I can't even remember what the other one was, but it'll come back to me later. But the point is, there'll be questions tonight from people who have watched those videos. So just joined us there. We've got Troy Powell, evening, Stefan Mini Cooper, hi all, yeah, and Darren from Colorado. Hi, Darren. Nice to see you there. So in terms of since the last time that we've been on, and you've been on this live stream, what's all new with you and how are things going with the business?
Much more of the same, really. All joking aside, yeah, things are very good, very busy as always. So yeah, it's just it's very much a case at the minute of it's just nose to the grindstone. Same with you. I mean, you know yourself that you were you're struggling somewhat with
Yes.
keeping up with our demands. So I appreciate you doing as much as you can to help us out.
If I just stop you there, can I ask you just to leave?
But yeah, it's very much a case of business as usual, I suppose. The thing is with me, from my point of view, it's coming into now silly season where everyone wants their cars back.
Yeah. If I can ask you just to leave the chat and rejoin, Ross, we just got a delay and there's an echo. People are mentioning it. So what we'll do, everybody, while Ross just drops out and comes back in, I'll just hold the fort for now while he does that. And we'll continue to go down the list and any questions that are there. So what have we got? Yeah, Chris Stevenson, hi. Yeah, there's an echo and a delay. We know that, which is what we're trying to sort out. Okay. Yeah, Ross, I saw you also attend AC at the IMM. Yeah, so I will thank Ross very much for that. He's enabled me to be at the IMM, which is excellent. So these things don't work if I just go, because the cost of me having to stand there and what I can earn there is kind of wiped out with the cost of being there. So in reality, we try to share the costs, and Ross invited me onto his stand. So he's made that possible. So you can all thank Ross at Thomas Classic the Modern for making that possible to have me at the IMM. So I'm indebted to him. Who we got? Yeah, everybody saying hi. Hi. Evening all. So, in terms of the videos that have come out since last month, so yeah, the videos did go down quite well, especially the 12 points on carbs and ignitions, things like that. I think it was surprising to some people, so people did find that quite useful. I've been sharing your videos as well, Darren, because your videos are helpful to people as well, especially the ones you're doing at the moment with timing. So I'm looking forward to part 3 when you're actually going to show people how to measure an advance curve, which will be absolutely fantastic. Evening, Evening, Ian. Evening, Rachel, Tony, and Andy. Evening to you all. Ross will be joining shortly. He's already been on, but we've had a delay, so he's going to rejoin and hopefully cure the delay and echo that we've had. Bill Beard, can I use MGBGT carbs on a Mini 1380? Okay, what are those MGB carbs? Are they HIF4s or HS4s, Bill? Ahmed's lad, AC, will there be a tuning day at Mini Medics this year? I would have suggested no. And the only reason I say that is because I did it last year. So, you know, there has to be enough people to make it worthwhile. I am doing a tuning day up north, which is with a mini club, which a lot of the North Yorks people know about. So we've got 14 cars up there. Evening, Clint. Nice to see you. Ross is coming back on. Stand by. Hi, Ross. Is that better?
You got me back?
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. No echo.
Excellent. There we go. Let's give that a whirl then.
Absolutely. All right. We'll see how long this one lasts. One thing I will say about my connection, I've already warned Ross, is my internet connection has been playing up since Christmas. And I'm not sure if I'm running out of bandwidth or it's a copper connection, so it's failing. So if it does cut out this evening, then I'll do my best to get back online as soon as I can. But this will be the last live stream on slower wideband. Okay, so hopefully the next one will be on a 500 meg connection, so everything will be sweet.
Excellent. Yeah, in all honesty, mine is pretty much the same here as well. And at the moment, here it is absolutely chucking it down with rain. Mine seems to be very much weather dependent. So apologies if mine goes wrong as well.
No, that's fair enough. That's all right. We've both, of course, it's been raining terribly in the UK, so we've got to put up with wet weather and horrible time of year.
It's horrendous. In all honesty, my original plan, as you know, was I was going to set up in one of the workshops to do this tonight for a little bit of a change of scenery. But it's raining so hard here over in the engine shop where I was going to set up, you wouldn't have heard anything. All you would hear is the rain on the roof.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, it's just nice to be on air again,
Hey, look at that.
especially this time with Ross. And I just wanted to add, just in case anybody's wondering where Darren is, Darren is actually down in the chat. So you can still speak to Darren and ask him any questions, but you just have to do it via the keyboard and he will respond via the keyboard. So no, there's no drama. I've not fallen out with Darren or anything like that. It's just that when I do the live streams, you can only have 2 people live, and it kind of worked last time when we swapped it, but it it wasn't really fair to Ross and the people that wanted to ask Ross lots of questions. So the idea this time is to give Ross the full 2 hours and let people ask questions, because Ross can answer questions that I can't, because he rebuilds cars, whereas I just machine things and tune stuff. All right. So Ross has got more experience, and you know, he also knows what's current in a lot of things, because he also builds engines as well as rebuilding cars and everything else. So what people don't necessarily know is that there's a lot of conversation that me and Ross have behind the scenes about you know, engine specs and you know, modernizing and all sorts of things that go on in the background. So Ross and I go back a number of years and we get on very well. So with that in mind, I think we best stop yapping and get some questions answered. Anyway, right. Yes. Philip just says, made an effort to be awake past 8 p.m. for once. That's fair enough. Thank you. Alan Howard, hi AC. What chemical can I use to clean any SU carb to look like new? Alan Howard from Zimbabwe. So thank you for coming and joining us all the way from Zimbabwe. That's fantastic. Interestingly, there isn't a chemical that I'm aware of that can make a carb look like new. So generally speaking, there's a multiple process that you have to use, but carb cleaner is a good start to get all the crap off it. But when you've got oxidized surfaces, which is common with obviously an aluminium based alloy carburetor, you really need to use some sort of abrasive cleaning. So the professionals use blasting and then rumble tanks and all kinds of stuff. So I know Ross uses vapor blasting, which makes an excellent job. And I know SU I think they use vapor blasting. They also have a rumbler as well to give it that nice satin back to the original factory luster. But I use a process which uses very specific abrasive cleaning, but it's a manual process, and it basically uses what's the word? Specific diameter wire in wire wheels that doesn't damage the car body, and somebody who really knows how to do it without making a mess.
Yeah.
That they've
Yeah.
practiced for many years is a better way of saying it. So it's a hand process to do it. So there isn't a chemical that I'm aware of. I think in America they sell various carb cleaners and stuff for putting it in ultrasonic tanks and all this sort of stuff. But nothing gets it completely clean. You have to have an abrasive sort of finishing process to make it sweet. So if you wanted to get a carb clean, I'd kind of say, vapor blast it, because it looks beautiful when it comes out of the vapor blast. It's not quite as original, but it looks lovely. I think you'd agree as well, wouldn't you, Ross?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The only thing is with them, the vapor blasting itself is not all that needs to be done. Because obviously, as you can imagine, you know yourself, there's loads of nooks and crannies that you've got to get the grit out of and stuff like that. But the actual outer body of the carburetor, yeah, looks brilliant when it's vapor blasted. What I've actually started doing with some of my carburetors, AC will be pleased to hear this because he does all of my carburetors. I've actually tried one tail end of last week. We vapor blasted the carburetor as an assembled unit. So we blocked up all of the air feed holes and the fuel feed holes and everything else, and vapor blasted the entire thing, which means that obviously it cleans up all the springs, the linkages, the screw heads, and stuff like that. So that came out really, really well, actually.
Excellent. So my cleaning man's going to be very happy with you.
Yes, but for a change.
He'll only have to worry about the inside.
Yeah, well, that's it. Exactly. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Okay. So more questions coming in. So let's get stuck in. Okay. Stefan Mini Cooper Ross. In a week, my Mini is going for a respray, but I see that there are two color codes: tartan red, RD9, and RD33. Do you know the difference?
As far as I am aware, it is a different pigmentation makeup. I believe one of them has more brown, a sort of a browny tinge to it than the other. I think you'll find that 8 is the original tartan red.
There you go. See, that's why Ross is on. I haven't got a clue.
Yeah,
So,
it's and the other thing is with it as well. What a lot of people, and I didn't know this until I tried recently with a tweed grey car. The primers that go underneath make a massive difference. So if you're painting a red car, I would suggest that it goes over a red primer, or at the very least, it has a red flash coat or something to top it off. It makes a huge difference. It really, really does. So I'm sure there are other guys out there far more experienced than me with the older colours and stuff like that might be able to tell you exactly what it was. I believe there was even a green primer many years ago that they used to use as sort of a barcode. So yeah, that's worthwhile doing a little bit of research into.
excellent. Thanks for that. Okay, so moving on, Chopper Patrick, how centered should the lifter be to the cam follower lobe? Okay, well, there's an answer that we can give. So effectively, what you want is the cam lobe to be obviously ever so slightly off center. to the center of the follower, because the follower should have a curve on it. So you want the contact point off to one side on the follower. All right. And the point for that is so the follower rotates. Okay. And that's helped by having the follower, the lobe slightly off to one side. I can't give you an exact figure because I don't actually know. I've never really had an issue other than not having the right radius on the bottom of the follower. So I couldn't give you a figure off the top of my head. I could probably find one out if you really needed to know, but I don't know that figure. But the point is, they shouldn't be centered. All right. Now, the most important thing to understand there is this can be a problem if you've got your camshaft has a very high acceleration rate, because if it's off to one side, obviously the contact point moves towards the outside of the follower when you go up the ramp. Okay. And if you go up the ramp and you move over to the side, you'll actually run off the edge of the follower. So it's very important to make sure that your contact does stay in the right place, but it can't be in the center of the follower. It's got to be off to one side. Okay, so let's move on. Ian Moore, question for Ross. What's your availability for a bare shell restoration? I understand you'll need to access the car first to work out how long it'll take. Ooh, big question.
Yeah. How long is a piece of string? In terms of full restorations, we're currently booked now until probably this time next year.
Wow.
Obviously, we can assess it well before then. We can hatch some plans for you. We can have a look at it. But currently, our restoration books are full for this year. So by all means, we can try and help you out. Obviously, it's really difficult with restorations because no two are the same. So as much as we try and plan as best as we can, sometimes they can get finished sooner. Other times they can run over. It's impossible to tell really with a restoration. But yeah, currently, as I say, we are fully booked for this year, restoration wise. That's full restorations, obviously. If we can help, we will. So by all means, drop us an email, send us over some pictures. Let's have a look at what you've actually got to begin with. If we feel it might be something that we can sort of get in before that, we will, no problem at all. But I think, yeah, you're quite right. First thing to do is obviously get eyes on it. Let's have a proper look at it, see what it is, see how good, bad, or ugly it is, and go from there, hatch some plans.
Excellent. Thanks, Ross. Hopefully, Ian, that gives you an idea. But the best thing to do is just contact Ross so he can, get in a situation and give you some answers, really. Okay, moving on. Dean Cook, when you update your bandwidth, will you be able to accommodate two guests? No, because I'm using my phone. That's the limitation. So it's not necessarily the bandwidth. That's actually because I'm using the phone app. I'm a bit of a I like to rush things, so I haven't got time to sit down at a laptop and set up a flipping, multiple cameras and all this. No, it has to be done on the phone. I haven't got time. As Ross said earlier, he already knows that I haven't got time to even do the work I've got, let alone sit there, messing around with the computer. So my problem is there's only me, and I have to do everything. So I can't do anymore. So for now, it's only going to be one guest at a time, and I apologise, but that's the limit of my ability and the way I'm running things. So apologies if it's annoying people, but maybe in the future that might change, and maybe it might be that somebody else hosts these. And I can come on there or whatever with other guests. I mean that's absolutely fine. I just do these because it helps people, right? And it's my way of being able to do stuff easily, So
Yeah. Well, it's a sort of almost a quicker way of getting access to people like yourself and Darren, etc., isn't it?
Yeah.
Rather than waiting for replies to emails or messages or this, that, and the other. This is sort of on the bounce. So if you've got something that's bugging and you think, I'd like a quick answer to that. Watch the live streams and see if we can help you out that way, isn't it?
Yeah.
What was the feedback on the previous one with where we sort of split it up and I came in, Darren came in?
The feedback wasn't bad. People liked it, but I just figured that it wasn't kind of fair. You know,
Yeah.
bringing people in and out. It's not professional. It worked. We did it really well. It worked. We made it happen because we had to do it on the spot.
Yeah.
So, but maybe people can tell us. Leave a comment or whatever, or send me messages after this. I'm quite happy to respond to what people want. But there are limitations at my end.
Yeah.
And I include my brain in that as well. So, I'm not the most IT illiterate. So I can operate my phone basically. Any more than that, it becomes, I need a crew
Yeah.
to be able to do it, which the budget won't allow that. So we're stuck with a phone at the moment. Anyway, okay, so Phil Huggett, when I get a wideband gauge fitted, should I put the lambda sensor in the center branch or after the collector? I noticed that the manifold injection LCB has it in the center branch. Okay. Well, if it's in the center branch, you're only going to pick up what's happening on the center two cylinders. Okay. So, in an engine development world, you'd have one in each port. All right. But we're not there. And what you need for a road car is to stick it after the collector at the bottom. So you can either stick it in front of the gear lever remote or just behind. But the most important thing about where you have your sensor is there's no leaks in the system. And this is what lets a lot of installations down, is people can't get them sealed properly. All right. So any air leaks, any oxygen that gets in that exhaust will make the sensor read lean. So you've got to be very careful with that. And equally, if it's too far back, you will have problems with it reading lean as well. Reading a lean mixture as well. Because if it's too far to the back, you'll get contamination between the pulses coming back up the exhaust. So there has to be a long pipe length either side of the sensor.
It's
hopefully, sorry.
The interesting about the injection LCB setup. I think it was Specialist Components did a nice stainless steel LCB, and it had two ports.
Ooh.
It had one that just sampled up in the top where the usual do from the two outer cylinders, and it had one just after the Y piece at the back.
Okay.
Whenever I've installed those, I only ever use the one at the Y piece.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's all I would do for a carburetor. Yes, if you were trying to get the absolute most out of the cylinders, what you would try and do is optimize the mix for each cylinder, and you might do that by adding baffles and things in the manifold or fins to direct the flow. Okay, but that's way past where you need to be going for a road car. That's the sort of thing where you need to be considering for race cars and stuff like that. They do it on V8 engines. In America, they'll put all sorts of things in the manifold to get the fuel distribution absolutely spot on for all the cylinders. Okay, because clearly, if you're running lean on the outer two cylinders, which is typically what happens on an A series, and you're in a race situation, then actually you need to put enough fuel in to stop melting the pistons on the outer two, but then you might be too rich and causing yourself power problems in the middle. And the middle two. So, but for a road car, it's not an issue.
No.
Okay. Thanks, Darren. Appreciate you answering that question. Yeah, because Darren's a lot more technical savvy than I am with YouTube and the internet. So thanks for that. Okay. Chatwin Ho, thanks for hosting this session. No problem. For a JatSpec SPI which has no dizzy, running a coil pack, do you have an opinion on whether swapping the SPI unit to a HIF 44 would help improve performance? Okay, so where are you? Are you in this country or are you in Japan? And what are your emission limits for that car? That's what you got to decide first, because if you've got an emission limit issue, then changing to a HIF 44 may mean you find it difficult to pass emissions. All right, so let's answer that question first. Phil Huggett says the Maniflow. Talking about the manifold there, Ross.
Yeah. See if I can.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, you got no problem with the Maniflow. I think they put one at the bottom on the Maniflow, or you can put your own one in. But I would put it either at the bottom of the collector where it goes into one pipe, or perhaps for space reasons, behind the remote gear lever, just a bit further back.
Yeah, there's a little bit more room just a few inches after the wide piece in the centre pipe.
Yeah. So the most important thing is you don't want it too far back, because if you go too far back, it won't get hot enough, and you'll have problems with the sensor clogging up and maybe failing prematurely. So the sensor does have to get hot.
Yeah.
Okay, Captain Toga, hi AC, might sound silly. Can I add a crankcase breather to twin SU 1275 with steel type Y piece SU emission controller, or would that cause a massive vacuum leak? I'm not sure what you mean by SU emission controller. Are you talking about the twin SU system that has the diaphragm that goes on top, like the Cooper S's and the Austin 1300s? Yeah, we add the twin carbs, and they have a diaphragm system on the top that sucks in. So I like that diaphragm system because it's actually there and it regulates the vacuum that's applied to the sump. So that works quite well. So I would always, on a road car, have my crankcase vents going into the carburetors. Okay. You won't have a vacuum leak as long as you've got the right ported oil filler cap on the top, because it has to breathe. Because obviously, if it's completely open, you will have a massive air leak, right? As you pertain to. But if you use the right cap, which is off of a later Mini, then it's meant to be operated, and it's got a calibrated air bleed, so that it won't upset the airflow in the carburetor. Okay, so Tim Mini 77, hi AC, I'm currently having an engine built by ML Motorsport. Good on you, excellent. Using your cam, ignition and carb. Can you help me make the decision as to whether to go for an RS or RS Plus? It's to stay 1293 with a 3.1 diff. What's more important to you, power above 3,500 revs or torque below 3,500 revs? It's quite simple. If you want torque from idle up to 3,500 revs, it's the RS cam all the time. If you're going to drive it over 3,500 revs all the time with your foot hard down, which I don't recommend for a road engine, but the RS Plus is that cam. That's basically what it comes down to. The very fact you've mentioned a 3.1 diff, I'd say you want the RS, not the RS Plus. I think Ross would agree with that as well, because I know you use both of those cams.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, if you and it, again, we have this conversation constantly about engine builds. You've got to be honest with yourself what you're using it for. The amount of people that I get phoning me up saying, I want 100 brake horsepower. Okay, no problem. That's absolutely fine. We can do that. That's fine. But what are you using the car for? A little dabble out to a pub in a country, this, that, and the other. No intentions of using it really in anger or anything like that. I would always suggest that the RS pretty much does it all.
Yeah, that was his intention when I designed it. So it's a smooth idle cam, and it pulls the torque hard all the way up to the red line, and that's all you ever want. Something that is just pulls all the way, and doesn't have a bad emission issue or rattly idle and all that sort of stuff. So, and I know it's actually pretty much your go-to cam for sort of fast road applications. I think that's still the case, isn't it, Ross?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah,
yeah,
very much so. We tend to 90% of our stuff now is sort of sports spec, as we call it, our sports spec build, and most of them have the RS in.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Bill Beard, Ross, are you able to machine pistons to suit thicker piston rings from 1.2 to 1.5? I'm assuming that's millimeters thick. I'm not sure if you've got the capability.
No, probably not, but
Yeah,
I'm damn sure you have.
Yeah, I can do it. But the problem is not yet.
Yeah.
So yes, I can machine piston ring grooves. I can even, I can machine them out and you can put piston savers in as well, ring savers, which is the the little spacer so you can take out any ring wear and all that sort of business, ring groove wear. But the point is, yeah, it's doable. Ross, you have half the setup, you just don't have necessarily the tool to be able to do it, if that makes sense.
No,
You can hold the
absolutely.
piston. Yeah.
In all honesty, as of yet, it's not something I've come across that I've had to do either.
Yeah.
Generally.
I'm assuming this guy at 1.2, he's probably got a forged piston or something like that, or he's got a piston that's wallowed out and he just wants to put a road ring on it, which that'll work.
Yeah.
Okay, Darren's chimed in there. Also, vapor blast my carbs the same way Ross described. Yeah, cleaning as an assembly, then disassemble and hand finish. There you go. So there's a second person that's just backed up what Ross was saying.
Incidentally, I have also got an ultrasonic tank, and I've tried various designated carburetor cleaners in there with ultrasonics after giving them a thorough degreasing anyway. And what I found with it is, whether it's the SU in particular, I don't know, it turns the body very, very dark.
Okay.
So
have you used a product called Aluminium Brightener?
No.
Try that.
Okay.
I saw one on YouTube the other day, and I thought it's worth a try.
Okay.
But if you leave it too long, it will have a detrimental effect. So there is a time period that's got to be used. And from what I've seen, it's quick. It's minutes.
Oh, okay.
If that, right? It's not like leave it for half hour. That's way too long. It's leave it for a few minutes. It's an acid. But so the ones I was looking at was American. So they sometimes have quite potent chemicals that we're not allowed to play with in this country because we can't be trusted with stuff like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So maybe something for you to try. Okay. Chatwin Ho, going back to his SPI, bearing in mind that you can't tune the ignition, it's really up to the MEMS ECU. It's it's 4:15 a.m. in Malaysia, by the way, and I'm really excited to finally catch up this session live. Well, all I can say is wow, and thank you for staying up that long or getting up early or whatever you've done to be able to do that. As I said, when it comes to your issue with your injection, if you're allowed to change your specification of fit an HIF 44, yes, it will work. But the point is, you might have an emissions issue, but I don't know what the laws of the land are in your country. But an SU carburetor conversion for an SPI works quite well. All right. But it also enables you to tune the engine. So I would suggest that you remove the ECU and put a standalone Dizzy in. I have seen cars that have they keep the SPI ECU for timing purposes and just run an SU. Mixed results, right? The timing's okay, but you can't optimize it. So that's where I like a Dizzy to be able to swing the timing in where that engine needs.
I think if you're going to do something like that, you just well do it all.
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely. Okay, Dean Cook just says, not a problem, just curious. Okay. That was the question about the, how many guests.
Yeah.
Okay, David Moore, question for Ross. I'm thinking long term to change my 998 to a 1275 or 1360. What's the lead time? I'm looking at next year. How much notice is needed? Oh, that's your sort of customer there, I think. Looking at next year.
Thinking ahead. That's what we like. In all honesty, that's no issue at all. We can help with that again. If you want us to supply something outright, we can. Absolutely fine. Currently, lead time at the moment is between 20 and 24 weeks. That is currently.
Yeah.
That should come down fairly soon. However, it is usually 12 to 16 weeks as an average. So all I would say in that point of view is, please don't think that might be the case in January next year. If you're thinking you want the car on the road for March, April, May, and you approach us in January, we might be in a similar position as we are now, and it could be 24 weeks. So all I would say with something like that is, get the ball rolling. I mean, if you're not using the car, if the car's currently got a 998 and you are using it, great, leave it like that, and let's start the ball rolling probably earlier than you need to, because we can always slow up a little bit, but what we can't do is gain time. So that's all I would say. Forward planning with that is a must.
All right, hopefully that answers your question here, David. But the point is, open a line of communication to Ross and get a plan in place that both of you, can agree to. That's the main thing. Get it underway.
Yeah.
And the other good thing is, some people like to rush these things. Sometimes it's best to have let's have it next year, right?
Yeah.
And then you can get exactly what you want, and there's time enough to get all the parts together and all that kind of good stuff. So
Yeah.
I know from building engines when I used to build them, I want it in 10 minutes. Well, you can't always get the bits, especially nowadays. So
Yeah.
especially when you've got people like me supplying Ross. Can you get any parts? And I'm like, I'm flat out. So the most important thing, and I just want to add at this point about what we're doing with Ross is Ross's business growth has been exponential. Okay, so it's reached the point where I can't keep up with his demand. So what we're not doing is just going and ignoring it. Both myself and Ross are working on a plan of how Ross can take over some of the work that I traditionally do for him by me, showing him how it's done. So I think one of the things that's going to happen in the future is Ross is going to do his own flywheels. So what that will mean is actually, instead of one person in the entire country doing all the flywheels, there's going to be two people in the country doing all the flywheels. So and doing all the setting up and the custom drive straps and the diaphragm height, horn heights, and all that sort of thing. Ross is going to do that in the future. So there is a play. He's also going to do the balancing. So he's going to do the whole service. And that's some people might think that's mad. I'm giving it away. I can't do it all. I don't need it. Right. So there's a plan, and Ross is on the way to great things. Okay. So he's onwards and upwards, and he's going to be building cars, and he needs suppliers, and he needs a way that he can make sure there's enough part supply to do what he needs to do. So we're on it.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So Phil Huggett says brilliant for the information on the wideband stuff and where to fit it. Chatwin Ho says, in Malaysia, no concerns on emissions. Well, fit that SU then and don't look back.
Yeah.
And obviously, think about, seriously, you can have a Dizzy in there, or you can have a programmed ignition. So if you like programmed ignition, it is better. But if you don't like programmed ignition, you want a Dizzy, then that's fine, and it will work. It will work very, very well. So A series engine. What amp alternator should I use? Could I use a lightweight race alternator for a road going 1293? Well, what you haven't said there, A series, is what your loads are. So your alternator in that car would either be a 45 or a 55 amp unit, the original. So if you've got lots of electrical loads and things like that, you just need to make sure the alternator is the same size, thereabouts, as what you had, what the car was fitted with originally. If it's not the same size and it's smaller, which it could be, I'm not saying it will be, but it could be, then you might find it might struggle if you're using heated rear screen and all that kind of stuff. Or you're sat in traffic with your lights on and the heater going and the heated rear screen going and all the rest of it. So just bear that in mind. All right. But there is no problem with changing to a lightweight alternator, just as long as it's got the right rating to suit your needs. If it's a stripped out car and you haven't got any of that, then it doesn't matter. Okay, Tony Harmer 59. Evening, Tony. Nice to see you on here. Where's the best place for the breather? Clutch or the back of the block? Is this on a 998? Personally, I like them. So I don't like them on the back of the engine. If it's on the 998, I like them on the tappet chest cover's fine. Or you can use the 1300 breather on the end of the timing chain cover. But personally, I like to put two breathers on any engine, even if it's a 998. So I'll put one on the clutch housing and have one either off the tappet chest or off the timing cover, and then straight into the carburetor for a road car. I think that's what you do on your road cars, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ross?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
All right, Timony 77. I'm after torque. It'd be on 13-inch wheels too. So high gearing, you definitely don't want the RS Plus.
No.
In fact, do you actually want the RS or
Or
do
the
you want
RT.
the RT? Yeah, because the RT. Well, I'll let Ross tell you what the RT is like.
Yeah, the RT will pull your house down. So if you just want torque and you just want a nice, I'll say a lazy drive, drives nice and easy from very, very low down. If you're never going to be sort of above sort of 5,500 RPM with it, absolutely flogging it, the RT all day long, lovely.
It's a great cam, and it's one that you I think the torque bulge is between 3 and 4.5, and it
Yeah,
puts your ass in the seat unexpectedly.
yeah.
It's just the RS will continue to go, but it won't pull quite so much torque low down as the RT. So, if what you're saying there, I think you should be using the RT cam, not necessarily, definitely not the RS Plus,
No.
but I think RT as opposed to RS. And you have to remember, the less cam you use, the longer the engine lasts. So, you know, the people always get carried away with camshafts, and they end up with building something they don't like driving. All right, or it wears out quick. So if you put the RT in it, this thing will last a long time. All right. Okay. So Chuck Heiser. Right. Why is there such negativity of replacement coil spring suspension on a classic? Oh, interesting.
Have you seen the damage that they do?
Yes, I have.
I think the key with it is it's almost reinventing the wheel in my eyes personally, and I don't think that there is anything out there, certainly not that I've seen, that is fit for purpose. Everything that I've seen has either been absolutely rock hard and knocks your teeth out, or they've been far too soft and they end up going coil bound and then knocking everything out. And some of the pictures of some of the damage that you can find quite easily on the internet that has been caused by those coil springs is unbelievable.
I've seen too many of them break, but that was based on a long time ago, so I'm not going to comment on the newer ones.
No.
But when they first come out, they broke left, right, and centre.
Mm-hmm.
My advice to anybody is, if you try these, be prepared for problems. Okay, I don't know what those problems are going to be, but I don't think, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that anybody has really perfected these 100%. Would you agree with that, Ross?
100%. I've never seen any fitted to a car. And put it this way, let me put it another way. I have removed more sets of them than I've fitted.
Oh, that's an interesting way of looking at it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's yeah, they're not for me. The genuine cones or the mini spares Evo cones, if it's purely for road use, it's all we ever fit.
There you go. Straightforward. There's no harm in people trying new things. That's great.
No.
But when those things have problems, especially, they can be, it's a safety issue for spring brakes. It's not, it doesn't always end well. All right.
No.
So
No.
just be careful. Okay. So what I'm looking at here is no particular supplier. That's any. I don't. I haven't got any experience with one particular supplier. This is based on my knowledge of dealing.
Mm. And let's be fair, the condition of our roads is a whole different subject, and they're getting worse. So I think you want all the suspension you can get.
the battery. I use a Varta 45 amp battery in my 1293, but sometimes I miss some juice for cold starts. Have to buy a higher amp battery. Well, my advice there is measure up the battery tray and fill it. Put the biggest battery you can fit in the hole. The old battery code was the 075 was always a good one to fit in. I think there's a couple of others now, but I haven't looked at it for a long time now, so I couldn't tell you. But sometimes the 075 was a bit wide if you had a big spare tire. So I don't know what you're fitting, Ross, but certainly when I was in the ML Motorsport days, it was an 075 went in the boot of everything, pretty much.
Yeah, we tend to stick to the 063s,
Okay.
which is the correct battery for the later injected models.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely fine.
Yeah.
The 075s, interestingly, the last one I tried to fit, and I had 3 up from local factors. The fins on the bottom of the battery now are so much wider than the battery themselves
Right.
that you would have had to have trimmed them up to get them in the box. They're not as
Okay.
straightforward.
Okay.
So the 063 seems to do everything that we need it to do.
Did in my day there was the 063 and then I used to fit the 076, which was the same size as an 063 but a 500 amp version.
Right. Okay.
All right, I don't know if they make the 076 anymore, but that was the one that I've used because I used to have a Midas kit car and an 063 was the biggest you could squeeze in the hole. You used to have to cut the hold downs like you took it off the bottom. So
Yeah.
I used to buy an 076 and fit in there, and all was good.
Right. Okay.
But the important thing to understand there is make sure your cables are all low resistance, good connections, soldered joints, none of this crimp crap, right? And that can make a lot of difference to the speed of cranking. All right. The other thing to think about is if you change to a modern starter motor with a gear reduction starter motor, that reduces the current need. So you don't need a big battery, which is why a lot of modern cars don't necessarily have massive batteries because they don't need the current of an older system. So there's something else to bear in mind. Okay. Tim's Mini Garage. Have you ever tuned earlier H4 carbs like Historic Racer? Any tips? I assume they will be essentially the same as HS4s, so they have the same needles and pistons. Yeah. So they are, in terms of tuning, the same. But the problem with the H4s is all the mechanism you have underneath and the cork seals and all the rest of it. So as a rule, I hate them. They leak, dribbly, and that's why they went to the later carbs. So I don't actually rebuild them. So I just work on the HSs rather than the Hs. So if anyone asks me for a set of H4s or H2s or whatever they want, I'll send it to Berlin. Okay. Chatwin Ho, super thin drums reduce unsprung weight, but do they give a noticeable improvement in the car's handling? Can't answer that because I don't know, but I don't know if Ross does.
What was that? I missed that one. Sorry.
Sorry. So Chatwin's come back on. This is the guy in Malaysia. Super thin drums reduce unsprung weight, but do they give a noticeable improvement in the car's handling?
No. They
There you
do.
go.
They do. They look good. They are an awful lot lighter. You won't notice it again. And this kind of harks back to the chap that's talking about the alternator. You always get that race crossover with road, and you've got to sort of realize what you actually want. We fit no end of super thin brake drums, but we don't fit them to improve the handling. They improve the brake cooling, and obviously, yes, they do improve the weight of that particular corner, but it's not going to be noticeable in a road application.
There you go. Chuck Heiser just said, what is Vapor Blast? So Darren's just answered it. Said Chuck Heiser, it's like a dry blasting, but with water. Much nicer finish for delicate parts. It is also more delicate. Is that right? Or am I over egging it there, Ross?
No, it's a lot more delicate
Okay.
because what you can use a much finer media because you don't get the dust.
Yeah. Okay.
If you use such a fine media in a dry blaster, you'd have to have a huge extraction system, and you would be blasting with dust, and you'd be there forever.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully that helps you understand, Chuck. Vapor blasting's been around for many years now, but it really makes alloy, it makes steel components look fantastic as well. But it's really good on alloy, and it's very gentle and doesn't damage the surfaces. So yeah, and that's why a lot of restorers, including Ross, have their own setups for doing it. Okay, Solly Welch, twin SU HS4 still leaking from the main vertical and jet after changing floats, needless seats. Any ideas? When you say leaking from, exactly where is the leak coming from? All right, if you can tell me exactly where, I can maybe help you a bit more. All right, so if you can get back to us, Solly, on that one. Tony Harmer, yes, 9 and 8. What was that in reference to? Best place to breather. Okay, yeah, 9 and 8. Okay, well, that was the breather positioning. The standard position and one on the clutch housing is good.
Don't be tempted to fit one in place of the fuel pump at the back of the block.
Yeah, because it flicks up oil and pushes oil up the pipe. Yeah, so don't do that. So yeah, if you do, well, you can do that, but you have to make up a really unnecessarily complicated baffling.
You need a baffle or something in there.
Yeah, to stop the oil being picked up. Chatwin Ho again. I have some new 1.3 ratio rockers. Can I replace the stock ones by sliding the shaft out without removing the rocker posts? I don't want to loosen the head studs if possible. Well, if it's anything like the rocker posts I've seen, no, because they're all machined a bit. You know, everything's moved, and there's by all means try, but you might find that you have to use force to knock it out, and you might damage the new shaft putting it in. So, I would. No harm in trying, but in reality, if I was you, I'd take the head off and do a valve job and put it all back together.
Yeah. Or at the very least, just drop the coolant down out of the way. Make sure it's nice and cold when you do it.
Yeah. No, he continues. Or is it safe to remove the studs to replace the rockers without having to remove the head and replace the head gasket? Yeah, I never like that because you're taking the pressure off. So if you take the pressure off, to me, I would take the head off and change the gasket. If the head's never been off and you've got an SPI, chances are you've got damaged exhaust valves anyway where they've been pitted. So in reality, taking the head off and just doing a service is a good thing, and you'll pick up power just because of it. Back in the day, we used to. I remember at ML Motorsport when we used to get cars coming in with the factory unleaded heads. They've done about 50,000 miles. And, they come in and they had about 45 at the wheels, and we do a valve job and send them out with 53.
I think the other thing is
doing a valve job.
Why are you fitting the 1.3 rockers? Because if you're fitting the 1.3 rockers looking for a bit more power, as AC just said, take the head off.
Yeah, and do the valves as well, because it'll just, people forget about a valve job, and an A series needs a valve job. Doesn't matter what people say, because the cylinder head runs very hot, the valves get pitted. Even though they've got the unleaded seats in now on the later minis, the valve head itself, not the seat in the head, the actual valve itself burns and pits, and it loses seal. So just doing a valve job at 50,000 miles, you'll be surprised, how much extra go you pick up from that. Rachel, I'm currently getting my engine rebuilt, but already saving to get the bodywork done in 1 to 2 years' time. Just letting you know so you can book me in now, Ross.
Okay. I am going to assume that is Rachel with the S-Works MPI that we're currently rebuilding for her. If it is, hi, Rachel. Haven't forgotten about you. Engine's looking lovely. It's all painted. We're getting there.
It's that, Rachel. I remember now. The one that's checking up on you. Yeah. Now I remember. Anyway, Rachel, you keep his nose to the grindstone. Yeah, he'll get there. Okay. Timini77, RT it is then. Thanks, guys. One thing I will say, Timini, is get your compression right. So 9.5, 9.65 is about it for that cam. Yeah. If you want sensible, no rattly running, no pinking and all the rest of it. So go there and you will have a lovely engine. Andy, in relation to a 1275 engine build, which engine would be better base to start from? An old A series or an A plus MG Metro for fast road application? I'll let you answer that, Ross. I know what I'd say, but
I always prefer the A plus units purely because they're more modern.
yeah,
And obviously the A series units have been around an awful lot longer. So the likelihood of those having already been rebuilt several times, I must have 6 or 7 blocks here, A series blocks. They're all linered. So, they've been out to massive bores, they've come back. They'll go again. It's absolutely fine. But I would always start with to a certain degree, the newest engine that you can in the
absolutely.
best condition that you can
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah. Even when I was doing this 20 odd years ago, you always start off with the newest engine you can.
Yeah.
To guarantee success. All right. That hasn't changed and it's never going to change. The only point is everything's always getting older. So eventually they're all going to be 50 years old.
Yeah.
Or older.
100%. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, Phil Huggett, got my RT cam waiting patiently on the shelf. There you go, Phil. Well done. Top Smoke 063 is the Integrale battery. So if it starts that ... Yeah, it's funny he says that, but the 063 was also the standard battery for a 998 Metro.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so it just shows you how things have changed. Yeah, as things have gone on, less power. Stringy thingy. You mentioned liking to crankcase breathers, Adrian. My 1275 midget has one on the timing cover. Should I put one on the disused mechanical fuel pump aperture? No, as we mentioned earlier, what you'll find. I mean, obviously, if this is a midget, it doesn't have the gearbox throwing stuff up, but it does have the crank whipping it round. All right.
Yeah.
So if you do that, oil is going to go straight up that to your pipe and up into the engine. So my advice to you is don't do that unless you want to build yourself an unnecessarily complicated baffle oil extraction system, which I've already lost the will to live by trying to say that. All right. So my suggestion is on that, because you can't necessarily take one off the back end. So take one off the rocker box. Right. So what I would do is I would take the one off the front of the engine, put it into the rocker box, and take another one off the rocker box. Yeah. Into the carburetor or carburetors. Okay.
Mm.
FBA regarding coil springs. There is a version here in Germany by a guy who actually offers them with TUV approval. He only sells them with his own matching high-lows. These have a good reputation over here. Excellent. If you've got some that work and you've got TUV approval, then they can't be that bad.
I was just going to say, I mean, it always used to be, back in the day that TUV approval for anything was always, that's got to be good quality stuff. So you'd like to think, if it is, by all means, let us know. Let
Yeah.
us know how you get on.
Yeah, I haven't heard of those, but the point is, if there is something over there that is working, then perhaps that should be shared with the rest of us. So, perhaps if you can send the details to Ross, because obviously Ross will use those and not me, and then Ross can, if he chooses to, can look into it.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for that, Stefan Mini Cooper. Thanks. Yep, no problem. Okay, the big red fella. What's your thoughts on a rear disc brake conversion? Probably a KAD setup. Are they worth the money? I wouldn't have said so on a road car.
No,
I'd say if
definitely
you
not.
was track racing doing 150 mile an hour, I'd say
They look lovely. They're really nice looking things. So again, I think it's one of those, what are you building it for? If it's pure
I
road
don't know if you
use.
can hear us, Ross, but we're having trouble with your connection.
Okay. Yeah,
I
no.
don't know. Do you want to drop out and come back in again?
I can do, yeah, no worries.
All right, just to see if it clears up.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, while Ross goes and sorts that out, I'll carry on. Chatwin Ho, thanks for asking my questions. No problem. And appreciate you coming, joining us at that time of the day. Okay, Solly Welch. So this is about the twin HS fours with leaks. Thanks. So there's fuel literally overflowing out of the mouth of the carb where the piston is. Ah, okay. The fuel pump doesn't stop. New seals for the front. Right, okay. New jets, fuel pump. Right, correct PSI. Right. When you say correct PSI, what is the PSI that is being delivered to the carbs? That's the first question. All right. So if you can tell us what the exact pounds per square inch is of the fuel delivered to the carbs, that would be very useful. Bill Beard, could you recommend a brand of inlet and exhaust valves? So Ross is on his way back in. Yeah, a brand of inlet and exhaust valves. Use the one from Mini Spares, or failing the Mini Spares ones, use the ones from G&S valves, competition valves, the REC valves. They're the ones that Mini Spares buy to stock them. So they're the G&S valves are the ones. I've just been prompted there. Thanks, Darren. I appreciate that. Yeah. Can I have a thumbs up? Because we got 61 online, which is fantastic. We've only got 31 likes. So, give us a thumbs up. That's fantastic. Just Bill, if you need valves, go to Mini Spares. Yeah. They're competition valves, the plasma nitrided stem valves, fantastic. Solly Welch, curious on your thoughts on Arcelli engines too. You've asked me the wrong question there, because I don't comment on other people's engines. I only comment on problems. It's a bit like you coming on and saying, what do you think of Ross's engines while he's sat here? Oh, they're fantastic, which they are actually, so that's fine. Okay. So, Clint Ford, is it worth having a head skim to increase compression on a low compression 1275? Well, what do you find as low compression? If it's the engine that I've tuned for you, Clint, leave it alone. What you actually need is a modified head, right? You don't want more compression, okay? But if it's a different engine and it's only got 8.3 to 1 compression, then yeah, you need more. But my point is, we need to know a little bit more about it, what the compression is now, what the spec is, etc. Andy, thanks, gents. I'll have to get booked in with Ross then. Ross won't mind. He'll just put you at the back of the queue, unfortunately.
There's always a queue, unfortunately, but we always do our very best.
Paul Marsh, I'm running a 7.5 Cooper S disc. Do I need the larger brake master cylinder? What is the advantage, if any?
What are you running them on? Are you currently set up with a tandem master cylinder or single line? If it's a single line system, effectively you should have the taller master cylinder because it holds more fluid.
Right, so he's got a second line there. It says running no servo, although servo won't improve braking performance, but just reduce the amount of brake pedal pressure. Okay, so in big handfuls, the bigger the piston you have in the master cylinder, the more effort you need to put in to stop the car. All right, but the pedal won't need to travel so far. Okay, so the smaller the piston in the master cylinder, the more the less effort you have to put in to get the same stopping performance. But obviously the pedal travel will be a little bit further. So that's kind of what you have to remember. So my advice to you, you should be using a master cylinder with the smallest bore if you're using no servo, because you want the most mechanical advantage. Okay. Now, if you were using a servo, then you could use the bigger one because the servo is going to boost it anyway. and then you would have a better pedal feel because it wouldn't go down as far, if that makes sense. But in reality, it all depends on what you've got now and as to what the changes are going to be. Guitar Rich, how to tighten up a magic wand from Free Play. I'm talking about a gear lever. Well, basically, I would suggest that you need to go through the entire linkage, right, and replace anything that's worn. Now, you might find that getting the parts for that might be difficult, but effectively, you've got to go through and look at where the whole thing assembles, and replace stuff where there's any play.
And in all honesty, even if you go through it and you replace the lot, it's still going to be like stirring porridge.
Yeah, there's a reason why they don't have them anymore, and
Yeah.
they engineered it out. It's because it wasn't really the best thing to start with, and when you went over a bump, it jumped out of gear and all this sort of stuff. So they're not wonderful.
No.
And a lot of people back in the day, I remember, like, they used bungees and all sorts of things to hold them up and all sorts of stuff back in the day. So yeah. Anyway, right, stringy thingy. Thanks, AC. You answered my question before we got to my question. Timing cover to rocker cover, then to carb it is. Yeah. Guitar Rich, yeah. Cheers, guys. Top Smoke. Did anyone ever get the twin port ECU tuning working? That was always a thing when I was at Minis 20 years ago. I know you can get a single port. Okay, so you mean people being able to modify the ECU to make it work? Yeah, people have claimed it. I've never tried. Personally, I've always ditched it, put on a single point on it, and done it with aftermarket, and that's always worked. But that isn't necessarily answering your question.
If that's regarding as in twin point ECU, as in the modification of a twin point ECU to be able to upgrade it and tune it, yes, it is possible.
There you go. And Ross would know that because he does it. He's current. I'm not. Darren just said, thumbs up to you guys for great quality information. Thanks, Darren. I see we jumped up to 47 likes and we're up to 66 people, which I think is a record for us. So well done, Ross, because that's clearly all you. It's not me. So
no, I'm taking absolutely no credit.
Anyway, 48 likes. So whoever's online, give us some more likes. Much appreciated, because the more likes we get, the more the algorithm likes us and wants us on, and all the rest of it. So that's really good. Okay, Dave Hodgson. Okay, you're cutting out for me, AC. Okay, that's interesting. It's Adrian that keeps dropping out. Maybe I'm having internet issues. Let me just go down. Can somebody answer now? Can you hear me now? Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me, Ross?
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay, mate. Yeah,
Okay.
no problem. You were glitching a little bit, but it came back fairly quickly.
Okay, been fine since. All right, thanks for that, Dave. Appreciate that. All right, sorry about that. Again, as I said at the beginning, I am having trouble with my wideband connection, so hopefully this is the last time we'll be on this. Okay, where are we? Right. Solly, running at 3 psi with an electric handy pump. Right, too much pressure. 3 psi and 2 psi. Right, come down a third and see what happens. If it doesn't stop leaking at 2 psi, then you have problems with your float heights or the seats in the carburetor that you've been provided with. All right. So some of the seats that come with the rebuild kits, the actual the brass bit where the needle sits in, the seat that it sits on is very wide. Okay. So a tip I always used to do is to take the new brass seat out and fit the old, original brass seat back in with the new needles, and that should cure your problem. But only 2 psi. Okay, You don't freeze loads. You've got 2 float chambers, remember. That's a hell of a lot of fuel there. 2 PSI is enough on one, let alone 2. So, 2 PSI is all you need. Okay. I think I've buggered them up by rebuilding. Okay. Well, I think you might have too much pressure, but see how you get on. And also, as I say, if you fitted the seats and the seats are too wide for the needles to seal on, then you will have issues. Okay, Paul Marsh, going back to the brakes, he's just got a single line system.
Okay, the Cooper S brake single line system.
Yeah.
So it should have the taller single line master cylinder a la Cooper S. I believe the bore size is the same, it just physically holds more fluid. But 90% of the single line stuff that I've ever improved, I've fitted a servo to it.
Yeah. Nobody likes standing on brake pedals hard anymore. I'm lazy.
No.
I like to just breathe on the pedal. And I always like a remote servo because it gives you a very confident feel. You stand on that brake, boom, and it comes on, right? It almost, it overcorrects. Like you push the brake pad, nothing happens, and then boom, it all comes on. So it feels quite reassuring. I quite like that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
A-Series engine, best pads for a road going, for best brake pads for a 90 horsepower Mini. You'd know this because you build them.
In all honesty, the EBC stuff is very, very good. But of late, we've gone back to fitting Mintex, and the Mintex run-of-the-mill stuff is fantastic. It's fine having 90 brake horsepower in a road car, but again, what are you using it for? So if you are just pootling around and, a little squirt here and there, I would say that the standard Mintex pads or the EBC, I think they're black stuff, something like that.
Funny you should say that. I used them for many miles. So when I had my Midas on the road many moons ago, I used EBC green stuff, and you had to get a little bit of heat into them, then that was fine. But I had problems with disc warping and all sorts. And then I changed to EBC black stuff, which was when I first started using them, the green stuff with the ones to have. They brought out black stuff, which is not the race black stuff, right? So let's not get that's totally different. This is the black stuff in EBC for road is like their very first pad material.
Yeah,
it's like entry into fast road, and they were fantastic in 8.4 inch discs. Okay, I used brilliant, right? But that's my experience. I haven't tried the Mintex standard road pad. I have tried the 1144s and I didn't like it because you had to get so much heat in the damn things. Right?
And they are rock hard from cold.
Yeah. It's like you put your foot and nothing happens.
Nothing happens. No, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, you as Ross says, a standard road pad, like a standard production pad, or at the very most, like the EBC black stuff. You don't need green stuff unless you're, doing a bit of track stuff. And if you're doing serious track stuff, then you probably need to. I don't know what the next one is. It yellow? I don't know what the next
yellow.
one is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yellow you don't want on the road because they won't work until they get some proper heating.
No.
Okay. The big red fellow. Sorry, didn't hear the comment on the rear disc brake conversion. Okay, sorry about that. But in the KD rear brakes, if you're racing around the track with a competition car, knock yourself out. I don't think they're needed for a road car because if you're going down the shops, why are you going to need discs? You're not going to put the heat into them.
No.
And remember, brakes have to have the right heat in to make them work. Okay, so putting too much brakes on a car and you don't need a lot of brake on the back of a Mini. That is one thing for sure because you can very quickly swap ends. All right, so you need to not over brake that. So I would suggest that for a road car, the normal brake will be absolutely fine.
Yeah, definitely. in fine fettle.
Yeah, in fine fettle. Now, clearly, the KD rear brakes are very good, right?
Yeah.
But I think they are best suited to the application that was designed for, which is a really quite fast Mini with probably 160 horsepower. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Everybody's saying yeah, can hear us fine. That's fantastic. Right. Solly Welch, thank you so much. This is about the leaking carbs. We'll take a look at that tomorrow. Really great advice. Thank you both. We'll drop that pressure too. Always grateful for the help and advice. No problem. That's why I do this and put this on, and that's why Ross is here tonight as well. Paul Marsh, cheers, gents. Nicholas Jeffrey, I love my brakes after Ross upgraded them to Mini Sport twin pots with servo. So much more reassuring. There you go. Well done, Ross. Happy
Toby.
customer.
Thanks for watching.
YouTube music. Hi, AC. Just out of curiosity, what's the normal oil pressure for healthy standard 1098? Healthy standard, £65 or £60 hot, and £15 at idle. That's it. Factory figures. FBA, what are the applications on the two different HIF needle valve sizes? Berlin do a 70 and a 96. So he's talking about the flow jet, so the needle valve in the float chamber. Not sure which size to fit on my HIF 38 and 44. Right. If you've got an HIF 38, you only need the 70. If you've got an HIF 44 and you've got a fast road Mini, put the 96 in, because that's what I fit in all my modified HIF carbs. And if you buy my new HIF carb from Berlin or Mini Spares, it comes, the HIF 44 comes with a 96 valve jet with a Viton tip. So yeah, right, where it says Viton versus steel tip, they never ever made a steel tip. It was brass. Okay, so brass wears out, Viton much better. A series engine, can you recommend a powder coater for subframes, etc.? I'm Midlands based. That's a Ross one.
I can't, unfortunately. We can take care of them. We don't do them on site, but we've got a local company that does them. But what I would suggest with that is maybe reach out to Matt from Smithy's Bits, because I know he does a lot with local companies, and he's Midlands, obviously. So yeah, I'm sure he'd be able to help you out with powder coating.
Excellent. So yeah, Smithy's Bits. That's he's an excellent company selling all his wares, but he also does, as you say, other things.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you reach out to him, then hopefully that will help you get where you need to be. Okay. Okay, the big red fella. Thanks, lads. Appreciate your thoughts. Okay, no problem. Classic Mini DIY. Love a good live stream. Hope you're doing well, AC and Ross. Thanks. Yeah, nice to see you on here. So, we're reaching a lot of people tonight, which is fantastic. Excellent. FBA, great. Thanks, AC. Right. Anything else you want to tell us about, Ross? Because we've got to the end of the questions for now.
What's going on? I'll tell you what's going on. You're coming over here at the end of February.
Yes. Yes.
We are eventually nailed down a time and a date to get our tuning training done on site here.
That's right. You've heard it. You've heard it here first, everybody. Ross Thomas has booked me to go over and do some training. So, and we're going to do, I think we're going to do yourself and one of your mechanics. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're going to do myself and one of our other guys here as well. Obviously, we've been doing a fair bit of tuning ourselves, all the sort of basic stuff and everything else. And we're pretty au fait with it, but it was high time that we got some proper training, and who better to do it than you? So, yeah, end of February.
So
we should be doing that.
The good news is for everybody else, that means there's someone in, albeit the south of Wales, but there's someone over the west side of the country that can actually do, proper tuning, needle making, all the rest of it,
Yeah.
which is excellent. So I also understand that you might be going a little bit further than that in the future as well. Is that right, Ross?
We may well be. We have a future plan in the not too distant to actually have a full rolling road facility as well.
Wow.
So that is the plan. Certainly this year. Hopefully sooner rather than later, which will mean that you're going to have to come back over and train us again.
Excellent.
Because
But
as we know, static tuning versus rolling road tuning are two completely different things.
absolutely. So the good thing here is, Ross is going to be in a position where he has a rolling road and he has all the training and we'll be able to make all the custom needles and everything. He's going to be what I would call the new centre of excellence for tuning. So, you've heard it here first. Let's hope it happens.
That's the
So
plan.
I will facilitate as much as I can to help you get that done, Ross, which is fantastic.
Excellent. Also, on that note regarding training, if there are any customers of ours watching that have a single SU equipped carbureted car, not necessarily a Mini, it'd be a Morris Minor or something along those lines,
Yep.
that would like the opportunity to have their car tuned by ourselves under AC's supervision. So, as in, whilst he's training us. So, effectively, you'll get a full ACDodd tune.
It will be the same standard. So, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Reach out to us and let us know, because we're going to need a few cars here to do that training. We've got a couple of local customers already lined up, but if there's somebody that's perhaps been struggling to get hold of AC because he's far too busy, and the other thing to mention about that, it will be much more cost effective for you to do that via our training than having AC travel directly to you to do it.
Absolutely.
So by all means, yeah, happy enough to hear from anyone who fancies us doing that, and you would be helping us out as well.
Absolutely. There's a win-win. So it helps everybody. So if you need if you've got a car that's suitable. So what we're effectively looking for the training is we need cars with a HS2 carb, we need cars with HS4 and cars with HI44. And I think you're looking you need 6 in all, but I think you've already got a couple. Is that right?
Yeah, we've already got a couple, but I mean, obviously, there's only so many we can deal with because, as you can imagine, during the training, it's going to take an awful lot longer to actually do the job than it would if Adrian was just doing it carte blanche.
Yeah.
So we are limited to sort of 6-8 cars maximum. We have already got a couple lined up, but happy to hear from anyone who thinks they might be able to take advantage of that.
So you've heard it here first. There's an opportunity to get your cars tuned at a discounted price, and also there's going to be somewhere in the future that you guys somewhere else that you can go to get your cars tuned, which is fantastic. So it is something that me and Ross have been talking about for a long time.
Long time.
But this is the year, and it's going to happen, which is fantastic. And it also means that going forward, I have less work to do, which right now is a good thing. So
the only worrying thing about that is it might mean that I've got more work to do, which I don't think is a good thing.
But you have staff.
Yeah.
So all joking aside, it's a good thing. So spreading the knowledge, allowing Ross to grow his business, which is fantastic. And if he gets his rolling road, I cannot wait to go down there and play with it. And no doubt that will open the doors to have ACDodd tuning days on the rolling road, all sorts of things in the future, which will be epic. And I can't
definitely.
wait.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd advise you to, Ross, is when you do get a rolling road and when it eventually happens, is don't play with it all the time.
No.
You've still got a business to run.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I think we've got we've got a super chat. So from Classic Mini DIY. Could you share some general opinions on the 1100 builds and best practices when building them, do's and don'ts, best compression ratio, etc.? I'm going to let you answer this because you built a kicking, stonking 1220 a little while ago. So if you want to go first, and I'll fill in any gaps, if that's all right.
Yeah, I think again the key is what are you using it for? If you're building something based like that, it's going to be torque and all about the torque from low down. So I would probably say AC's RT cam and probably no more than 9.5 to 1 compression ratio. Nicely modified head. Don't need to be absolutely massive in terms of the head. Multi-angle valve seat cut, throat work to blend it out, make it nice and smooth. Don't go huge with the ports and keep that torque figure right up.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I will add to that is if you're staying with 1100 or 1150, then use the standard head, so the 202 head that comes, and then
202.
do that. The only thing I will say is put a real big inlet valve in it. So port it out and put nice big inlet valve. You only need the 1040 exhaust. That's fine. So you know, but you want 1.27 or or maybe even bigger. If you've got a 295 head, bear in mind the ports on the 295 are much bigger. So if you're going to bore that engine out to, let's say, 1187 or 1220, 1200 cc, around that size, big, then use the 295 head with a 1.3 inlet, inch inlet valve from a 1300, that size, big, let it breathe. But as Ross said, you want to make that power come in below 6,000 rpm, so you don't have to rev it to death. It's a long stroke engine. It's all about plodding and lots of grunt. And these engines pull hard from idle to 6,000. All right, when they're modified well, you can either have a single HI 44 carburation or twin HS2s. I like the HS2s on that engine. It's good, but for simplicity and cost, HI 44 works well, as does 1.3 rockers. All right,
I was just going to say 1.3 rockers.
Yeah. 1.3 rockers on that. Ross is bang on with the compression ratio, 9.5 to 1, 1.3 rockers, RT cam, and she'll have a smooth idle, and it'll be like, if you get it right, it'll be just over 70 horsepower, and sort of 73, maybe 75 foot-pounds of torque, and it'll pull like a freaking train, right? And it will feel like a 1275 engine. Really, really good for smooth running road motors. Especially Cole, for you over in the States, you've got big roads, stuff like that. The 1100 makes a fantastic road build. Hopefully that helps you with the answer, and appreciate the super chat on that. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Right, where am I? Yeah. Right. Oh. Sorry, I'm getting stuck. I've deleted it now. Don't know how I've done that. Sorry. I'm getting stuck. Sorry. No. Okay. Right. There we go. That's better. Sorry about that. That's me not knowing what to push when. Okay. So go back to the original questions there. All right. Stefan Mini Cooper, do you recommend the ball type or pressure relief valve or the bullet type? Ball. What are you going to say, Ross?
Bullet.
Bullet. Okay. I'm old school.
Dear. Yeah, no, I've got to be honest. I've gone back to fit in the bullet, and I make sure that they're relieved on the way around. So drilling with a couple of holes on the outside of the shuttle.
Okay.
But yeah,
What's your reasoning?
I was fed up of shortening springs to get the oil pressure down.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So absolutely. I used to fit balls all the time, and I had to 1.25 coils off the spring every time. Right.
Yeah.
That's just what you did.
Yeah.
But I've also been around when I was removing stuck um, conventional pistons out, and they will get stuck in blocks. So they don't get stuck with a ball. But I've also known a problem with long oil pipes on coolers, and you get surging, so it goes pressure with the ball. And if you change the ball to the piston type, it doesn't do it. So the ball doesn't solve everything.
No.
Okay. So Ross does his thing, but he modifies it, and that's absolutely fine. So, neither of us are right or wrong here. It's just preference and based on current experience. And what Ross does for his company is absolutely fine.
The other thing that I did also find, and interesting enough, this was on my father's Mini 40. When we rebuilt the engine in that 1330, that's an MPI, you could actually hear the ball chattering on the seat under the oil pressure. You could hear it.
Okay.
And we swapped it out for a shuttle and did the oil pressure test and everything else. And the noise gone, completely gone.
There you go. I'm not going to argue.
No.
I will say thanks to everyone. We got 61 likes and 61 people in the chat room. So we're holding everybody in. So well done, Ross. Okay, so Guitar 3 Rich, what steps to take before starting an idle engine? I think what it means is maybe an engine that's been sat around for a while. So the first thing is you want to make sure it's free. I always squirt some oil down the bores. If I can, I will try and get the oil pressure up, but that's not always possible on a worn engine. Okay, to crank it over without the plugs in to get oil pressure. What you do to do that, facilitate that, is remove the banjo bolt and then backfill the oil pump, and that usually is enough to get oil pressure. So you get oil pressure, it's spinning round, and then make sure that when you actually start the engine, or if it's got an electric pump, that it's not pumping fuel through, flooding the carburetor, and then filling the engine up with fuel, because you'll just wash the rings out. So not good. Clearly, you want to make sure that there's enough oil in the sump, and it needs to be clean. So if it's been sat around a while, it might have got acids in it and all that sort of nasty stuff. So dropping the oil, is a good plan as well. All right. Just once you get it going, don't hold it on choke. Put the choke in as quick as you can, and set the mixture so it's running as lean as it will idle smoothly. Anything to add there, Ross?
No, I think that's absolutely spot on. The only thing I would say with that is just be careful if it is an idle engine, that it's an unknown almost, all joking aside. For the sake of a few quid and a bit of time and effort, I'd pull the head off it and have a good look at the bores and make sure there's no rust or anything else in there.
Yeah. Okay. I've got no problem with that. Sometimes there has been, there's been engines where you start the thing up and it gets really hot, and then obviously you delve into it and the flipping water jacket's full up with all sorts of shit that's thrown in there, right? So what Ross says is a good idea. Sometimes if you're thinking, if it's been stored, and it's had water in it, for example, or it's had coolant in it, then there could be some build up, all right, in the water jacket. So bear that in mind. If the engine turns over freely and you don't want to take it apart, you just want to start it up, just keep your eye on the temperature. All right. If it starts to get hot, just shut it down. Okay. So Hicks Design, what's your combined experience of blocks being machined out of line from the production line? I've heard that often the bores and main bearings are sometimes on the piss. How easily corrected is it? So you've had one of these, haven't you, Ross?
Yeah, we've had a couple of those. Yeah.
And I've certainly seen a number of them. but
Yeah.
it's not, from my experience, the factory. All right. Generally speaking, it's when aftermarket machinists have got hold of it and they've made a right balls up. All right. And the machines are not set right, or they're doing something wrong, and they machine the bores piss to the main bearings. So yes, I have seen factory engines out by, maybe 3 or 4 thou. When you look at the line of the top of the block to the main bearings. And obviously, it depends on your boring machine, but you should be boring with reference to the mains. So if you're using a block mounted borer, like I do, and Ross has also bought one, it's imperative that if you want to build an accurate engine, that your machine needs to bore square to its mounted face, and that the block surface that you bolt to is indeed parallel with the mains. So one of the things that I did is I made myself a gauge to check this, and then if it's not, I machine the block first, then I bore it, and then I'll deck it again afterwards to make sure that, the reason why you do it first is to make it parallel, and then you can bore the block, and then you do your dry build, and then you deck the top again to make sure that you get the right deck on it. All right. And I'm sure Ross will do exactly the same.
Yeah, 100%. And it kind of boils back to what we were saying earlier on about the fact that most of these engines have had a life. So they've been at before, they've been rebuilt before, and sometimes if machinists are following what was there before, they're just making it worse.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I say, my experience is of other people who have machined the blocks have made them worse. Okay. Okay, so Bradley Austin, hi Ross. What is the waiting time for you to patch up an aerial hole in my mini RSP roof and paint it? The car will need a sunroof taken out and the roof lining.
Yeah, no problem. That's fine. That is day-to-day work. That's not an issue. That's not restoration work. We can take care of that. Not tomorrow, unfortunately, but within a few weeks, yeah, we can book you in for that. That's no problem at all.
Excellent.
So
So,
feel free, contact us, and we'll take care of that for you.
all right, yeah, Bradley. So, as Ross says, just contact him and get it booked in. Tony Pearman there says should be free if you're doing training. So I'm not sure if he's offering a car or if he just wants to come and learn. Unfortunately, when it comes to training, as Ross knows, there's a price tag.
There is, yeah, and it's all about trying to help you guys out as well. As I said originally, if you guys have been waiting for AC or trying to get a group of you together or this, that, and the other, you were going to pay for that service. So at the end of the day, if we can save you some money and you bring your car to us and we can utilize it as a benefit for us to do the training, and you still get the benefit of having it fully tuned, then realistically it's help us to help you sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I see Darren's chimed in there. Wish I had a rolling road. And he's also said there, because Darren's done the training. So hope you get an 850 with a HS2 to tune, exclamation mark. That's because he knows something that you don't yet.
No, right, okay.
So you'll soon know what that means when you get one. So I'll leave that there, and then we can discuss that when we're doing the tuning, because you'll then go, now I know what you meant. Okay, YouTube music. Thanks, AC. Just fitted oil pressure gauge, and just wanted to point out reference adjust to verify. Did you say £65 at high speed? £60 at high speed is fine, right? Even if it's 55, it's fine. Even if it's 50, it's fine. As long as you want about £15 at idle, yeah. If it's less than £15 at idle, you've got wear. Okay. There's people talk about, oh, it's 25, it's 40 at idle. No, factory will say £15 at idle, £60 hot. Yeah, that's all you need. If you've got £50 hot at 3,000 revs, that's fine as well. Don't sweat it. That 50 psi means you've actually got 50 psi of oil squirting into your bearings. That's plenty. All right, for a road car. Yeah, Classic Mini and DIY has just added road car for sure. Yeah, so what we said there, Cole, it absolutely builds a fantastic road engine. Keep it mild, but maximise the breathing potential. That's what it's all about. Chatwin Ho, do you have any experience with Bosch LSU 4.9 wideband sensors being installed in cars and going faulty pretty quickly? I read in forums that they are very sensitive to moisture. Yes. The first one I used lasted not even the first tune. Yeah. And then I used a second one that lasted 2 years, and I'm on the third one now, and it's still going. Right. So that's due to go at some point. But I use them in the position that they're meant to, so that they point downwards, so any moisture doesn't collect in the sensor. All right. Whereabouts is the training session to take place? Well, the training session isn't open to everybody. So basically, the training session is for Ross and his staff. But the point is, if you want to get your car involved, then it will be at Thomas Classic Modern in, well, go ahead with the address.
It's Thomas Classic and Modern, and we're in Cumberland, South Wales. So nice and easily accessible. But by all means, drop us a line if you are interested in, booking in to letting us get trained on your car. Just drop us a line and we'll see if we can help you.
The only caveat I'd say to that is if you've got a combination that isn't needed for the training, then there's going to be, unfortunately, you won't be selected.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. Classic Mini and DIY. Excellent. Thanks for the insight into this 12G202 head. And that's some excellent information. I appreciate your time answering this. No problem, Cole. And if you need any more information, don't hesitate to send me a message, or we can have a video chat, because as you know, we've chatted before. I'm always happy to help, right? And I'm sure Ross would also give you the benefit of his experience with the massive amount of engines that he builds now. So he's learned a lot.
Very much so. Very much so.
William Jones, you recommend the 8114 damper over the 8103 for twin carbs. I find I can get away with a thinner oil with the 8103 for AFR at tipping. Are the 8114 still the best with needed thicker? Okay, so what you're confusing is the reason why we're fitting the 8114. We're not fitting the 8114 because of the oil difference. Okay, so the oil difference isn't related to the damper. That's related to the fit of whatever damper you fitted in the carb. All right, so just because an 8114 might be stiffer, for example, it might not be stiffer in everybody's carb. Okay, so the 8114 will allow the piston to rise, okay, more than the 8103 in lost motion. So what that basically does is effectively slow the airspeed down over the jet, which makes it less sensitive. That's the reason for the difference. So you basically 8114s are used to make the fueling easier to manage. All right. So I always recommend those on typically HS4 applications, but it's not hard and fast. So when I'm tuning twin carbs, for example, I have both sets of dampers with me, and I will try both to see which gives me the fueling curve I want. So don't just think that 8103 is what that needs to be used and 8114 and something else. No, try both. Use whatever works for you. That's the secret to tuning SUs. There's, the worst thing you can do is go, it's this for that and this for that. That's not how it works. The way it works is you fit it and you see what you get. If it's what you want, you stay with it. If it's not what you want, then change it. When you get finicky like me, I machine my own collars, right? So I can have exactly what I want where I want it. But that's not available to everybody. So just try it, and whatever gives you the best fueling and the tip in, as you say, and the throttle response, then go with it. Top smoke. Chatwin Ho. Fake LSU 4.9s aren't good. Yeah, I agree with that. You're are better pulling it once the car is tuned rather than leaving it in. Yes. So I agree. If the car's tuned and everything's working fine, then you can take the sensor out. The problem is when you fit in them on a carburetor car and they're not necessarily right above the manifold, they won't necessarily get hot and they get clogged and they need cleaning. All right. So a wideband sensor for a gauge isn't a fit and forget item. All right. It does need maintenance, but it's generally used for setting up. And it can be obviously used when you go long distances up mountains and all sorts of things to understand what's going on. So it's a tool, but it's a tool that needs maintenance. Okay. When I use the LSU 4.9, because I use the Bosch, as I believe that Ross will, regular cleaning is needed. So at the end of every tuning day, I blowtorch my sensor, all right, to keep it clean, because it will, and you will see me doing this at tune up. So you see at the Riviera run, I have a blowtorch. If you see me at the IMM, which I'm going to be at this year with Ross, thank you very much for arranging that, Ross. Appreciate that. I will be using a blowtorch to keep that sensor clear, and I might even be stopping tuning to clean the sensor. So it's very important that you keep that sensor clean. And I have typically 3 with me because you never know when they go down. Okay, so Stefan Mini Cooper, going back to the oil pressure relief valve. Thanks again, both. Yes, I've shortened the spring as well. Have 55 psi when driving. Boom, lovely. Top smoke. I stripped an MG Metro engine once, and the relief was deformed and stuck, sitting on the piss. The hardball won't do that. Having said that, that was filled with drop gear debris. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Mechanical or electrical fuel pump for a 1293 with RS cam. Over to you, because you build those cars, Ross.
If you are going to stick with a mechanical pump, please use the correct large UFO style pump, genuine pump, if you like.
Genuine SU pump. Yeah.
The cheap ones are awful.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where you get them from. The ones with the plastic shoe on the back that run on the cam, they haven't got the correct spacing on them. The arm is not offset like it is on the standard pump. They cause all sorts of problems. So of late, we have been fitting. We've gone back to fitting electric pumps, facet electric pumps. They do a lovely little self-contained unit, which is a PosiFlow pump, which delivers between 1.5 and 3 psi. Doesn't need a regulator. Straightforward replacement fit.
Beautiful. 1.5. I mean, yes.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, excellent. As I say, Ross builds cars all the time, so he knows what's current. So I bow to his superior advice. In my day, we fitted an electric pump and we put a regulator on.
Yeah.
But if they're building pumps now that provide the correct pressure, then you don't need the regulator. But you know, the most people get the pressure wrong for an SU. It's very low. It's not a high pressure carburetor.
Yeah.
Okay, so Stefan Mini Cooper, I'm going to leave. Yeah, tomorrow early morning to do my job. Thanks for the live stream. See you at the next one. Nice one, Stefan. Thank you for joining.
Thanks very much.
Hicks Design, cheers, lads. Guitar 3 Rich, thanks again, guys. Got lots of engines in different ages of decline and weathering. Rebuilding has passed its due date. If I had a workshop like yours, I'd have a lot of fun. Yeah, we have a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
Chatwin Ho, thanks. I guess I'll remove my wideband sensor at Top Smoke. I got a genuine one from a reputable supplier, but you're right, plenty of fake ones online. Yeah, absolutely. There you go. So Darren's just chimed in. I'll clean my Bosch sensor after every tuning day as well. Yeah, because he those that do this tuning know that your sensor will dull as you do the tuning, especially when you're doing it at the tailpipe like we do and like what you're going to do, Ross.
Yeah.
So it is something as part of the training you'll be shown to do that.
Yeah.
So Darren says, at Ross, have you had problems fitting the oil pressure seat? Had one that was 2 thou undersized and it came unseated in the block and covered the drain hole, spiked oil pressure and blew out the filter. There you
Yes,
go. So Ross has had
unfortunately.
it as well.
However, what I have done, and again, this is part of a bigger problem, but we're not going to go into that now. Is with parts supply and everything else. What I have done is I've actually nulled a new oil pressure relief valve seat on the lathe. So obviously, if you've got a lathe and you can knurl it, that will fix that problem. But 9 times out of 10, I refit the original one. It's not very often you have to replace the seat unless it's damaged or, bruised or something like that. But yes, Darren, yeah, I have seen that, mate. Not good.
Okay. Tony Pearman, I'm off. Thanks for your time. All right. No worries. I see people are starting to leave. It's getting near that time. We've got 9 minutes before we shut down. If there's any more questions, then please ask them now. I will thank Ross again for coming in this evening. That's fantastic to help us answer some questions. I just see Troy Powell's come up. I have an SPI fuel tank and pump, but car runs a HI44 carb now with a regulator. Can I disconnect power to the SPI pump and just run the pump Ross just mentioned, or do I have to change the fuel tank?
You need to change the tank.
There you go.
Yeah, you have to change the tank. However, if you have an SPI fuel tank, the SPI fuel pump, the original one, is I would say low pressure in the loosest possible term. It's 1.5 bar as compared to 3 bar of the MPI tank. There is a regulator that you can fit that will drop that SPI pump down to carburetor pressure. So, but personally, if it were me, I would change the tank to a proper carburation tank. Flog your SPI one because they're worth money and it will be of use to somebody else. And fit the pump that I mentioned. Yeah, and in all honesty, mini fuel tanks, 7.5 gallon standard carburetor tanks, most people have got them kicking around. So make sure it's a good one. Make sure it's clean inside, not rusty and everything else. And I would change it to a proper carburetor setup tank.
Okay. Yep. Got no problem with that. Hopefully that helps you there, Troy. Pete Holmes, bloody work, I've only just got here. I'll watch on catch up. All right, so Pete Holmes is he's got a pair of carburetor bodies that are with me at the moment. Just I'm putting in the spindle bushes for him.
Right.
Amid's lad, question for AC. I'm now running ported vacuum on my HI44, and now the engine bogs slightly when I put my foot down. What might be causing this? I was running full manifold vacuum previously. Your ignition advance curve isn't necessarily ideal for that setup. That's all that needs to be changed. So it's your timing setting effectively. So the good news is Darren, who's on this chat, he's actually going to be doing a video very soon, show you how to measure advance curve. That's what you need to do, and then let me know what those advance figures are, and I can help you correct that. Okay. Top Smoke, I think if I did another Mini, I would use a Micra K11 engine and box. Sacrilege, I know. Nice light engine, not too powerful, fits under the round nose. Each to their own.
Has it got an SU carburetor and a distributor on it? If it has, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
No, we seriously, we've done plenty of engine conversions, R1, Hayabusas, all sorts. So yeah, it is and that is what I still absolutely love about the mini scene, is the individuality is very much still out there. So yeah, more power to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Francisco Melendez, do you balance the crankshaft with or without the flywheel? Well, if you've got a dynamic balancer, then absolutely put the flywheel on, balance the crankshaft, add the flywheel to it, add the front pulley to it, balance it all together. If you are just adding a flywheel to an engine, or you want to improve a standard engine, then balance the flywheel on its own, and that will make a huge difference to the engine. All right. Generally speaking, the flywheels on a standard engine are terrible, right? Especially nowadays with the aftermarket clutches. So just balancing the flywheel on its own, a static balance, or even if it's sent to a machine shop and they have a mandrel and they can balance it on a dynamic machine, makes all the difference. All right. So yeah, that's all I'll advise to you there. If you've got the ability to do it all together, do it all together. If you haven't got the ability but you can do the flywheel statically, then absolutely do that, because that's what I've been doing for 30 odd years. And that's how Ross's engines are all done as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Top Smoke just come back with, I put twin SU on the K11. Good man. All right. A series engine, would you change the fuel and brake lines on a Mini that's been sat for 20 years?
100%.
Yeah.
Hard lines and hoses, that is.
Just
So
go through
yeah,
the lot. Yeah.
yeah, go through the lot.
Yeah. Okay. Amistad, I've measured my advance curve. 12 at idle, 20 at 2000, and 30 at... Right. So I would say you've got another issue there then. So what we need to know, Amistad, is what the specification of the engine is. Because if you've got more camshaft than a road, than a sort of a mild road engine, then that's probably, you need a bit more advance on that. All right. But I don't know the rest of the spec of your engine. But you definitely have an issue if it's bogging. Okay.
Is the vacuum advance working? I know
Yes.
somebody that did a video on vacuum advance quite recently.
Yeah, well, there is. I think in this case it probably is. But the point is, yeah, being all serious, is it actually working? Okay. FMF Guff, is vacuum diaphragm mark 5830K for an MG Metro midget with HI 44? No, I'll probably want to use more like, let's think, 4117, something like that, or 398, something like that. But effectively, you want a vacuum unit that's got all your vacuum in by about 12 inches, yeah, on a 1275 engine. And you want it to deliver, if you've got 30 degrees maximum timing, you want a good 15, 16, maybe even 17 degrees of vacuum when you're cruising. All right. So say at 4,000 revs, you'll have about 45 to 47, something like that. All right. Amistad, standard 1275 Sprite engine. If you've got a Sprite engine that's bogging with an 850 cam, you've got a carburetor tuning foot problem, I would say. All right. And the Advance was masking it. So you need to dial that carburetor in. So there's an issue there. So if those timing figures are right, and that's a standard 1275 Sprite engine with an 850 cam, you've definitely got an issue with the carburation. All right.
They normally got a HRF 38 on as well, haven't they?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what? Just out of interest, Amistad, what needle and what air filter are you running?
And is it a HIF 44 now?
Yes.
Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He says the standard engine, so I'm assuming it's a HIF 38. But perhaps if he just tells us if it's a HIF 38 and what needle he's running and what air filter he's running, that might give us a little bit more info.
Because that's normally the one with the really long advanced curve distributor as well, isn't it?
Yeah. They normally got 35, 38 degrees at the crank advance, which is ridiculous for a performance engine. But okay, right. So he's using some. Okay, right. So BBA needle at K&N code. Right. So what have we got in the dash pot? Yeah. And have you got a wideband on this as well? Because it'd be interesting to see what it's actually doing. Because from what you're listing, there shouldn't be the scenario that you're suggesting. What's the best fuel tank cleaning method? A new one, isn't it?
Yeah. In all honesty, if it's a non-anti-siphon tank, so the one with the big neck hasn't got the little flap in, I normally put a load of nuts and bolts in there and a couple of liters of cheap Coca-Cola to start with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seal it all up, put petrol cap on it, leave it, agitate it, move it around, agitate it, move it around, pour it out, and just keep going with it. And then eventually then it will clean up inside. But the key is you're using the nuts and bolts as an abrasive almost.
Yeah.
And the Coca-Cola is quite good. The other thing you could use is some citric acid or something like that inside it. But in all honesty, if it's that bad and it needs cleaning that badly inside, find another one.
Yeah, absolutely. As I say, having nuts and bolts inside and Coca-Cola with the phosphoric acid will deal with the rust. That's why he's suggesting that.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on. Just Amislad's come back with a BBA needle. So I'm assuming, and he's got a K&N cone, so I'm assuming a HIF 44. So you've got ATF in the dashboard. So the amber lights come on the dashboard already because that's a bit thin. What damper have you got fitted? Is it a 1511 or a 1505? Or has it got no number on it at all? That's for Amidslad. No problem with the mixture at idle, that's fine. But what damper number have you got? Because I think the problem here is your piston's opening too quick, which is a classic flat spot. All I was going to suggest is, he's got 2085, right? So thicken the oil up, okay? So go up to some 1040 or something like that, or even 2050, just to see if that makes a big difference. In fact, take it out, put 2050 in it if you've got some, and just see what the difference is. If that cures the problem, then clearly what you need to do is get a wideband on there and then dial the oil in to give you the right enrichment and acceleration. All right, but I think in this case your ATF is probably what the problem is. It's leaning out when you open the throttle. So it is interesting. Amislad's got all the bits that I would recommend. Right, so he's just fitted everything that I would put in, which is absolutely fine. But the only thing I wouldn't necessarily do is have ATF. All right. So yeah. Anyway, it's just past 10 o'clock. So I think we need to round things up.
Okay.
All right. So
time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, many thanks for answering all my questions. No problem, Amislad. As I say, check that oil and change it for thicker oil and see if it cures the problem. Darren's just come in. Have you had any chance to do any testing with the new oil grades? Now, some people know that I'm going to take out different oil grades this year. So I've now got, I think it's 9 or 10 grades I'm going to carry this year. Right, I'm going to go for it. But the point is, no, I haven't, Darren, and that's because I haven't done any tuning. But tuning starts in earnest, okay, very soon. So, and my first appointment is actually with Ross for training. So that will kind of get me up to speed for the season coming. But I've got a pretty full calendar coming up. So I will let all the trained tuners know of my exploits. And in particular, the cold start performance, which is I'm looking to improve, which is good. So thanks for that, Darren. Anyway, as I say, I think we need to wrap things up there. So again, thank you very much for coming along tonight, Ross. It's been fantastic to have you here. Appreciate you here for the whole 2 hours because you got asked lots of questions and you were able to answer them admirably. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
No problem at all. So I think with all that said, it's time to disappear. So thanks very much, everybody. Really appreciate you coming along. Thanks for all the thumbs up. And I'll see you in about a month's time, thereabouts. All right. Which will be just at the start of the new tuning season. So yeah, we'll look forward to that.
Excellent.
Bye-bye.
Cheers all. Bye-bye. See you soon.